Here it is at last, the Helios Tarot forecast for the month, or Tarot Horoscope drawn specifically for your astrological zodiac sign. I'm B.R. Newman, in case you didn't know that already. Check out my website, iamhelios.com, through the link below, and consider everything that I have to offer there. Consider signing up to receive any number of the personal readings that I offer, or consider signing up to take a course. The choice is yours. There's a lot to explore there. Also consider checking out Annie Botticelli's Storyteller forecasts to see the astrological side of everything you're going to see here. It's fascinating, I promise. So, okay, I guess we'll just jump right into it.
So here it is, Capricorn, your 5-card Helios spread for the month of October. This is a kind of condensed Golden Dawn spread, which uses 15 cards, but in this case we have 5 to the same effect. We have a central theme, 2-dimensional timeline options to choose from, a past section, and a fate section. In your central theme, or that which most adequately embodies the whole story arc of this tarot spread, is the 10 of discs. 10, the final culmination of the suit of Earth. And all of the 10s in tarot are associated with Malkuth on the Tree of Life. This is Sphirith 10, the last one. The kingdom, the realm, the world. The final result of having walked the path of each of these elements, each of these 4. So as manifest through Earth, this is actually, it's a kind of inner and outer wealth, infinite resources, you could say, total security, but also the heaviness that goes along with that, the inescapable nature of wealth beyond measure. This can be equated to the paradigm in which we are required to sacrifice freedom and liberty for the sake of security, and this is often due to fear of loss. So imagine if you have so much that it has defined your paradigm, it has defined your world, and at that point it defines a great deal of who you are, or at least it seems to. So fear of losing that can actually end up determining the way in which you live your life. So not only is your essence determined by something that is inanimate and something that has no real meaning in and of itself other than what we give to it, but the way in which you live your life is also defined by that. So this is not by any stretch to suggest that this is summing up your life at this point. No, this is just letting us know what in your life this tarot spread is speaking to, what aspects of your life should you focus on throughout the duration of this reading. So this is how it all becomes personal to you. This is where the specificity comes from, even though we're doing a general reading for everyone who shares your sun sign. So just look to your life to figure out the areas that you feel stuck, that you feel burdened, heavy, weighed down, like there's too much of something that you're afraid to let go of it because it has defined you. Perhaps you've been with it for so long. Perhaps time is the substance we're talking about here. Maybe it's been something or someone you've been around for so long that you fear losing them just because they have defined so much of you just due to proximity times time. So those are the facets of your life that these 2-dimensional timelines are going to be relevant to. So let's talk about these. On the one hand, you have the 4 of Wands. Now, all 4s in the numerical minor arcana are associated with Chesed on the Tree of Life, Sphirith 4, and that is often spoken of as a force that repairs the world. It's a kind of mercy and kindness and benevolence, so it's often a pleasant experience as manifest through these elements. So as manifest through fire, in this case, since these are wands, this is actually the experience of like balance and correction and completion, everything just kind of falling into order. This seems to happen almost outside of the individual, so it's rather effortless. It's a pretty pleasant experience. Everything just kind of happens in the favor of the perceiver. In reality, of course, it is the individual that's creating the scenario, or creating the openness, creating the container in which this opportunity can thrive and blossom. So the prerequisite there, of course, is a kind of faith and trust and confidence and inspiration, the spark of creation. So this is the kind of creation that doesn't necessarily need to be materialized through the work of the hands of the individual, but just the spark and the intent and the inspiration is enough in this case to cause some kind of wormhole to open up, leading to a kind of or a form of creation that is rather surprising. And this can sometimes be outside of the realm of the individual's control, or at least it may seem that way. So the individual doesn't necessarily choose where the changes happen, where the opportunities present themselves, where the healing occurs, where the balance is restored. Just what happens is that the intent to create such a thing causes it to happen wherever it's most capable of happening, or wherever the realm of highest potential it happens to be at that moment. So on the other hand, you have the 6 of Swords. Very different, very, very different card. So this being the 6, and like all 6s in the numerical minor arcana, is associated with Tiferet on the Tree of Life, Sphirith 6. And has to do with kind of like getting in touch with some kind of higher order through various means according to the element. And of course, according to swords, this is mental energy. So this is kind of like thinking yourself out of situations that are quite sticky and stagnant. So we can look to the Ten of Discs to figure out what that's speaking to, where the context is defined there is pretty clear. So the Six of Swords involves stepping back from the action, so to speak, and really carefully, meticulously weighing the pros and cons and developing strategies accordingly. This involves running simulations in your mind and also experimentation. So this is very different from the Four of Wands. The Four of Wands just sort of, through willingness, is allowed to just happen spontaneously, whereas the Six of Swords is quite tedious and can be very challenging and requires a great deal of attention and focus and perseverance. So you have the privilege of choosing according to your preference. Let's consider where this is all leading to figure out which of these two-dimensional timelines is more in line with what's actually going to happen, so you can just make it easier on yourself. And also more profitable, more enjoyable. So the Nine of Wands is in your fate section. So this is actually the highest expression of fire before it goes into the 10. The 10 is, of course, Malkuth, the final culmination. The result of playing with fire is getting burnt out, getting exhausted, or just making a mess. But the 9 is actually the point where the fire is most productive. So this is true strength. This is like having finally mastered the element of fire, having developed a kind of internal engine, allowing many of your pursuits and aspirations and creative ambitions to unfold before you effortlessly, as the result of that engine being a seemingly separate source of your efforts and your power that's kind of always autonomously working, to the greater glory of your own intent and your own vision for your life. So that can be obviously very beneficial, but you have to ask yourself very honestly, considering the fact that the Nine of Wands cannot develop without you having worked with that element long enough, without all of the experimentation under your belt, without truly understanding the nature of the element. You can't just grasp all of these 9 wands and expect to know what to do with them and expect them to work in your favor and then not suddenly go into the 10 and exhaust you and burn you out. So you have to ask yourself very seriously and honestly, are you ready for that? Do you feel ready to jump into that state where you have this engine room of creation working in your favor? Or do you need to do a little more studying? Do you need to weigh the pros and cons and figure out what you truly want to be doing, what you want to be working in your favor? What is the vision that you want to be working towards? Because when you do step into that 9 of Wands, you will have that engine room of creation working towards whatever that is. So you better get clear about it. If you are clear about that, then feel free to take that 4 of Wands path and just sit back, focus on your intent, trust, have faith, and just watch the opportunities unfold. And then when they do unfold, you have to take those opportunities. You can't just sit back and remain in the stagnancy of the 10 of Discs. That's what you're trying to transcend. So you have to be willing to move, willing to break the inertia and jump forward and take a leap of faith forward into the opportunities that are represented as portals, summoned by the 4 of Wands. Or if you don't feel ready, that's totally fine. All you have to do is just take some time aside, take the 6 of Swords path, and just really carefully figure out what it is that you want to do, what you can do, what you need to touch up on, what you need to learn a little bit more about, and that's totally fine. The timeline that we're working with would be factored into the equation, which is to say that the 4 of Wands seems pretty instantaneous, right? So the opportunities just present themselves, you jump forward into them, through them, and activate that 9 of Wands almost instantaneously, perhaps as one single swift motion. Whereas the 6 of Swords, if you do take that path, the whole timeline slows down to accommodate. So don't worry about that. You have all of the time that you need. Just make sure that you're actually ready before you get yourself into that position. It's all about that position, that willingness to intend and activate that 4 of Wands and say, yes, I am ready to summon all forces to me and develop some kind of internal engine room of creation that will be working autonomously towards that end. So it's really up to you, and I'm gonna trust you to be honest about this. If you don't, cautiously and honestly examine yourself to determine whether or not you are actually ready. and you do jump for it prematurely, and you do activate the engine room of creation that will be working towards the vision that you may have, the vision that you might have at that time may not actually be something that you want. That's one way this could go. But of course, what you could experience is the sudden jolting and shocking, uncomfortable friction in the transition from having moved from that 10 of discs so rapidly. So that fear of loss would materialize as discomfort. So the Malkuth through the 10 of discs there would sort of activate the 10 of wands, you could say. Malkuth would carry over into the fate in activating the 10 of wands rather than maintaining the engine room of creation through the 9 of wands, allowing a greater vision to come forth. So that's it in a nutshell. But I will mention, I haven't forgotten, the priestess in your past section is very simply, very briefly, letting you know that you have in fact gotten in touch with the source of your power. So the priestess has a companion, the magus. The magus is the illusionist, the magician that makes miracles happen before your eyes, and the priestess is the source of the magus's power. So having experienced that, having gone through the experience of the priestess, you would have made direct contact with the prerequisite for that 4 of wands, that miraculous, magical force that opens those wormholes. You've gotten in touch with that. So that's why it's quite clear to me that you have the capacity, even though you're in the heaviness of this 10 of discs, to actually open up some miraculous opportunities. So yeah, don't get bogged down, don't get weighed down. It may feel really heavy, or at least the areas of your life that this is pertaining to, it may feel heavy there, but don't be discouraged, because amazing things are happening, and you can either sit back and take your time and really cautiously weigh the pros and cons and develop strategies accordingly, or you can just, activate that priestess energy and open up the opportunities right before you like wormholes, and then find yourself on the other side with this new engine room of creation. And that's ultimately where you're going. So really, you're only faced with the choice or the responsibility of determining whether or not you're ready to make this kind of change occur right now. So I'll trust you to do that.
And that about wraps this up for the month. So thank you for listening to this and for watching. Please do consider contacting me for a personal reading. We can take this so far and go so much deeper than we have here. It's pretty remarkable, really. You can gain so much, as many people have already. IamHelios.com is the website. I'm B.R. Newman. Thanks again.